Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So I'm back again at the Bittersweet House Flip project, and I'm continuing to work outside. I'm trying to get stuff done before winter gets here and got a number of things to get done. Today, I'm going to start working on a project. I'll try to explain this. So when I bought this place, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but there were a couple of buildings out here. Previous owner was a dog breeder, and she had a building out here that she had power running to. And you can see the wires. There was just a chunk of conduit stubbed up in the ground, and the leads are just buried in the ground. And they come over, I think, over here, probably between the garage and this shed. And then they come up on the power pole, and those wires, I believe, are in this conduit. I'm fairly certain in this conduit running up to the pole. So what I'm going to try to do, I want to try to reuse those wires, because currently there is no power in this garage. And so rather than trench from the house and bring power from the main breaker panel, I'm just going to do what she did, and it was spliced in up there, so I'll just have an electrician splice that back in, and I'm just going to run power. I just have underground. This is probably about 7 feet between the pole and the garage, so I'm just going to trench that in. I'll pop the wire into the garage, and then we can install a panel in there. But I want to see, I don't know how deep this wire is buried. My hope is that it's not too terrible deep. I'd like to actually be able to dig it up and reuse it all the way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start digging on that end over there that I just showed you, and I'm going to use the quick spade attachment, which I'll show you here in a second. This is kind of an odd tool, but I picked this up a couple years ago, and I don't use it a lot, but when I use it, it's super handy. So I'll show you here in a minute, but basically this thing goes on pallet forks, and the forks stick in the bottom there, and it basically is, I don't know, it's just like a big digging, it's a big spade. It's a tractor powered spade, and I've dug trenches with it. I have dug up big bushes and transplanted bushes with it. It worked really well for that. And I'm going to use it to start digging where that wire is popping out of the ground, and see if I can figure out how deep it is. If it's not too terrible deep, I'm going to see if I can't work it out of the ground, and that way I can reuse it. So I'll grab the tractor, I'll get the forks on it, and then we'll get this thing mounted up. Before I mount that spade up, I think I'm going to see if I can get this old step. There's apparently used to be a door going in over here. That garage, that step is just obviously a step to nowhere. Did you see that? There was just a mouse. There was a mouse that just poked his head out of there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on video. He saw me and he went back in. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can get that step out of there. And there's also just a slab of concrete here that doesn't need to be there, and actually will be in the way of trenching in my new power for that breaker panel in the garage. So I'm gonna see if I can pop this concrete out of here. Well, that old step was a little heavier than I expected it to be. It was not hollow, it was solid poured concrete. That popped up real easy. You can see the difference in switching to my bucket. The bucket, I don't know what those buckets weigh for these little tractors, but they're way lighter than forks. These pallet forks are super heavy. There's just nothing I could do to get those steps picked up with the forks, but when I switched to the bucket, I was just able to get it, you know, just sliding along the ground. And I just took it back and stuck it behind the barn by that old hog confinement mess that I've got back there. So anyway, let's get this spade hooked up on here. Like I showed you before, it's just got two basically slots there. And I actually had to modify my pallet forks to make this work because I don't know if I can show you this very well, but the way this is from the factory, there's actually a slot here, and that slot makes it so you can slide the forks to the inside and then you can take them off completely. So I actually welded in, you probably can't see that, but I actually welded this piece in so that those forks can be slid all the way to the center position. Otherwise, you know, as it was from the factory, I just couldn't use this thing because when they were slid all the way together, like I need it for the spade, then the forks wouldn't hook on the bottom here and then just pop off. So had to do a little welding on there, and now these forks are permanently attached to this bracket, but I don't care. I don't have any reason to take them off anyway. So I'm gonna get these slid together. We'll get this on, and I'll show you how I strap this on here. So I think in the actual, I don't know, instructions that came with this spade, it talks about using a chain to chain this thing on, but all I've ever used is a ratchet strap, because obviously it's easy to cinch it up. And the thing is all the vast majority of your pressure is obviously pushing, not really pulling, so it doesn't take much to hold this thing on here. This is about the lightest duty ratchet strap I own, so I'm not sure if this one will be quite strong enough to hold it on here, but I'm gonna give it a whirl and we'll find out. If I break it, I've got heavier duty ones, but I think this one will work. So I just run it, this particular pallet fork obviously has a receiver hitch in it, which I don't ever use, but I just run my ratchet strap through there, cinch that down good, and now that strap will hold that spade on there. I'll tie this up so it's out of the way, and we're ready to go digging. I'll give you guys an update here. So before I started digging on the other end, I decided I better figure out, just make sure that this wire is going where I thought it was going. I assumed that it went between these two buildings here and didn't cut in front of the garage across the driveway. So very carefully and slowly dug down, and I'm probably close to 18 inches, I suppose, underground here, and I found the wires, as you can see, and they do in fact come out of that conduit, and looks like they're running right between these buildings like I thought. So now I just have to decide if those are buried 18 inches, that's a lot of trench for me to dig to get that wire, which I really don't need it all the way over there. So what I might do is, got to decide here, but I'm kind of thinking about coming back here behind the garage somewhere and just, problem is actually finding where it goes. If I knew where it was between these buildings, I think I would come back here and I would just dig down to find it, cut it off there, and then I would trench it back to the pole, because I really don't need very much to go from the pole into the garage. I certainly don't need to go all the way, you know, from the corner of the garage over there is probably another, oh, it's 15, it's probably 40 feet, I suppose. So anyway, I've got to figure that out. If I want to trench that thing all the way back, or if I'm just going to find a midway point and start digging down until I hit it, and then come back to the pole from that direction. So let me see if I can get that figured out, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so slight change of plans. What I decided to do, since I've talked to you about this quick spade, I want to demonstrate how this thing works for you. So I am going to come back here and I'm going to start digging back where the shed was, because who knows, this thing, you know, it's 18 inches at that pole, but it could very well be a lot shallower back here. So who knows, maybe once I start digging I can pop it up pretty easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and start digging back here. I'll show you how that spade works and see what we find. Alright, so it does look like that thing is down there about the same. Probably, I'm going to say still probably about 18 inches or so. So that kind of answers, I don't think I want to trench this thing all the way back. So I think I'm going to come back somewhere over here behind the garage and I'm just going to start digging, I don't know, I'll start trenching across until I hit that wire. And then I can work my way back to the pole from there. Alright guys, so I finally found them, and they are right pretty much in the middle of the two buildings, right where you expect them to be, right down there. But I kept coming back this way because I didn't think they'd be so deep. That right there is where those wires are pushing 3 foot deep, so they weren't messing around when they trenched those babies in. I'm digging all the way back here. I even ran into an old oh, there, it's kind of loosened up. I've been beating on it. I think it's like an old post, like an old telephone pole or something. Big fence post, I don't know. But anyway, I dug way more trench than I needed to trying to find that wire because I did not think it would be that deep, but now I know where it's at. But now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I gotta get that all the way out over there. I'm starting to rethink this. It might be better just to buy some new wire and pull new rather than trying to salvage from back here, because this thing is deep. So I guess I'll backfill this where I don't need to, and I'll get down there, I'll cut that wire and start digging that way. All right guys, it is out, finally. There it is. So my battery is quickly running low here, so I didn't get a chance to show you this, but my technique digging this out was I used the spade in the tractor and I dug down about 1 foot or so, and then I hand dug the rest of it because I didn't want to take a chance of nicking that wire. So not exactly the most fun job, but it's out, and I got plenty of wire to be able to run into the garage here. I think I'm gonna call it a day, but tomorrow I'll come back and I'll get all this cleaned up, get it backfilled, and then while I've got the spade on the tractor, I'll go ahead and dig myself a trench to the garage. That way that's done and I can have the wire laid in, and I'll be ready to actually bring that in and get a panel added to the garage. Alright guys, it's the next day. I'm back and I'm going to go ahead and dig myself a little trench over here to the garage. I actually have a piece of conduit that was laying in the barn over there. But I think what I'm going to do, since I'm going to have this garage sided shortly, hopefully next couple of weeks, I'm just going to bring this wire over and kind of leave a hole here. It'll be easier to punch a hole through the new siding and run the service in through new siding, and it'll make it easier for the siding guys too if they don't have to cut around that. So I'm just gonna dig a little trench over here, I'll coil the wire up, I'll leave it, and then I'll come back. I kind of roughly did a little bit of backfilling last night, but I need to clean this up a little bit too and get this smoothed out, and then I can check this one off the list. go. I got it all graded out. Man, apologize for the wind. I'm sure it's loud on my microphone. Sorry about that. But anyway, I got this smoothed out pretty good. I'm guessing probably after we get some rain, this is probably going to settle some, so I might need to come back and kind of smooth this out a little bit better. But for now, it's good enough. My wire's ready to go. Left myself a little dirt to backfill that hole as soon as I can get that service into the garage. And one more project off the list. So glad to get that one done. I knew that one was going to be kind of a challenge, and it was. But anyway, it's taken care of. Next step, more tractor work. If you like tractor videos, stay tuned. So I've got all this pea gravel that I mentioned in a previous video. I'm going to try to stand over here out of the wind, but all this pea gravel over here between the house and the garage, and then I've got a bunch more over there in front of the house too, that I need to get scooped up and go somewhere with. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go with it yet, but I've got to get this pea gravel cleaned up. So probably going to start working on that next. If you're interested in seeing that, make sure you stay tuned. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you on the next video.